All right, in this video, we're going to be breaking down how we help take this early stage startup in the specialty finance space from zero booked meetings, zero existing pipeline from cold. They were just relying on existing clients, existing referral relationships to generate new meetings. And we were able to take them from zero cold pipeline to over 1.8 million in sales qualified pipeline within 90 days. I'll be getting into the exact data behind this, but we did establish an upward trend from month 1 to month 2 to month 3, adding more calls, more qualified pipeline into their business throughout this entire engagement. And this engagement is still ongoing, so probably in the future I might be bringing on one of the founders where we can do more of like a podcast slash interview style video for you guys where you can hear some of the feedback live. But I wanted to go ahead and get into this so we can talk more about our actual diagnosis, our thesis of how we approach go-to-market for early stage startups, like if they're bootstrapped, but the founder has sufficient capital set aside, or if they're your standard pre-seed to Series A company. Those are the best fits for us, right? And so we'll start off, we'll get into our diagnosis of the current problem, the existing situation. We'll get into our exact methodology of how we approach this engagement. And then we'll obviously get into the results. And I have just the raw quantitative data from some of the reporting schedules that you'll be able to look at and break down yourself and see for yourself. And so be sure you watch to the end of the video. I'll be sharing a lot of insights on how we go about this from a thesis perspective. But you'll also be able to see the raw data, like I said. So you'll either be able to just copy this and use this approach on your own, or by the end of this video, you'll know if you're a good fit to go ahead and book a call with us, and then you'll be speaking directly with me or one of my team members about working together on your go-to-market or your corporate development. So before this engagement, this client was not totally of outbound, but they had gone the typical route of working with some marketing agencies, trying to just have a go-to-market from hiring, maybe some people who talk about cold email, right? They'll maybe spew out some information about domains or inboxes and deliverability, but they don't actually understand subjects that matter, such as message market fit, offer market fit, channel market fit, and making sure that actually finding product market fit is not just something that is a toss up, but it's something that's a sure thing as long as you have a good thesis to start off with, right? So they started working with a multitude of different marketing agencies. The most recent one just sent out 440 emails for them. Of course, zero booked meetings on the calendar. It didn't generate anything from them. It just wasted their capital and wasted their time. And so when they first reached out to us, they were, of course, a little skeptical. But we, took our time like we do with every engagement to at least run, one or two calls between our team and their team just to make sure that there was actual alignment here, that this was a client that we could get results for. And so after diagnosing some of the structural problems with their previous approaches and educating them on how we go about taking already existing product market fit and being able to scale that up and solidify the pipeline and forecast it for the next quarter, we went ahead and we entered an engagement with them. Now, as far as diagnostics are concerned, with early stage startups, bootstrapped companies, one of the biggest hurdles to get over is solving for product market fit. Now, for most of our clients, that's actually not what we're in the business of doing, although we are very good at it. There's a couple reasons for that. It's just very time consuming, takes a ton of energy, and it's something that always has to be on your mind, right? And so we can't do that for all of our clients. We do it for a select few where we're actually helping them diagnose and solve for product market fit. But this client right here, they were already working with an offer and working with a product that was already existing in the marketplace. They do have a unique value proposition, how they add some AI into their finance solution to help speed things up for clients and also make it more capital efficient. But the point here being is that we were not necessarily solving them. We were not solving product market fit for them. We were taking some existing seeds of product market fit, helping them solidify that and confirm that, and also confirm an offer that would work for front-end cold traffic. And so to break this down further, the three variables that you are looking to solve for and solidify when it comes to product market fit, which is required for growth from cold channels, is going to be offer market fit, message market fit, and channel market fit. So our thesis on how we approach this is that we always start with cold email because it's the fastest, it's the most cost effective to start with and test for. You can get data back the fastest, you can iterate the fastest, and you'll see in our future reports in this video, it's very clean with how you can look at this and start to diagnose with, okay, this type of messaging, this offer is working versus this offer isn't working, this message and campaign isn't working, right? Message market fit is essentially, what are you saying? What is the type of language that you're using with that persona, and is it going to be reflected, right? To touch on channel market fit, you can of course try to start with other channels such as LinkedIn outbound, such as posting LinkedIn content or YouTube content and hoping for inbound, but it's really not that predictable. You're also going to have a lot of trouble actually solving for what offer is going to work for front-end cold traffic. And you could also try ads as well, maybe running paid, Google search, or maybe also running paid Meta as well. But you're going to burn a lot of capital to not get clean data, right? There's going to be a lot of toss-ups when it comes to Meta, especially in the early days. And it's much more cost-effective and faster to just solve for what offer is going to work for front-end cold traffic through cold email, right? And then offer market fit is not only going to help them show up to that call and book that first call, actually having offer market fit is actually going to help get them involved in a sales motion with you guys, right? Like actually closing them, and that's what matters. So, like I just mentioned, test the channel you can read the fastest. For us in this engagement, we started off with cold email. We did have a period where we moved to LinkedIn outbound. We found that that channel was actually not working as effectively for them as we wanted, and so we pivoted into cold calling, and now the next step with this engagement is adding on paid ads. The two ratios that you are looking for when it comes to cold email and really what you should be treating as your North Star. Obviously, reply rate is important when it comes to just the overall health. If you have a reply rate of 0.2%, it's not a healthy campaign. It's not going to be winning. It's just going to be hurting your deliverability. And so it just makes sense to turn it off and kill it, right? But what you're looking for and what we track and what you'll see in these reports is that you're looking for just the raw data of how many email sends does it take me to get to an affirmative response or a positive reply, whatever you want to call it, and how many of those affirmative responses do I need to generate in order to generate a call scheduled on the calendar, right? And you can, of course, get more myopic with the data in terms of how many calls scheduled does it take me to actually have a call that shows up, right? And then it's just closer math, because it's, okay, how many calls do I have to have before I can close, right? And then, what is my average deal size that I'm closing for, all that stuff, right? But the two metrics and ratios that we're looking for is sends per affirmative response and how many affirmative responses does it take us to get to a call scheduled. But you can also track this from how many sends to a call scheduled as well, right? So month one from the pilot, you can see the large difference here in volume of emails sent. Also, all of our templates and what we plug in, we are not the type of firm that just has these existing templates and runs it through ChatGPT and we're like, okay, here we go, here's what we're going to send. We're actually customizing all the messaging and the offers to make sure it's an actual good fit, and making sure that all this is customized for each client that we work with, right? So over 30,000 sends within the first pilot month. Reply rate was 1.8%. That was able to generate 11 affirmative responses. It was able to get 4 calls on the calendar with them within the first 30 days. And you may be thinking, like, 4 calls, that's not that much. That said, this is not an offering or a solution that needs a ton of calls, and it's just naturally not going to generate a ton of calls, especially month one, because of the average contract value of 225. For their actual offering, it's actually closer to 300K, but we took the conservative estimate here on their average contract value for the math. And so this is just a small insight into what some of the math looks like in terms of tracking from how many sends to how many affirmative responses to how many calls scheduled, and then what is the affirmative response rate and the call scheduled rate there, so we can see which one is actually winning the best, right? So in terms of some signals here, this client is a specialty finance solution for personal injury clinics. So think about any type of clinic that you would go to, like after you're in a car accident, or you had some type of personal injury case where you're likely working with like an attorney or lawyer on this, and so they may be sending you for your care to like a pain management, physical therapy, maybe like a spine clinic or like an MRI site, right? And so we were able to diagnose that pain management was the strongest signal for generating calls, but we were actually getting the most replies from physical therapy and pain management clinics alongside, right? We also found out some interesting notes here that actually opening with a generic entry and not making this customized based off of like, the data that we were able to scrape from their LinkedIn or personal information, actually going with a generic opening works stronger for this compared to having those, customized, more like custom, one-liners. We don't rely on any type of personalization that is just the generic personalization of like, hey, saw you were based in Texas. Did you go to the Cowboys game last week or anything like that? That's just cringe. It doesn't work. But we did test some personalization in there and such in terms of calling out, like if they were a pain clinic in Colorado, for example, and calling that out. We actually found that removing that actually worked better, right? We did kill 2 of the lanes just because there wasn't any affirmative responses that were coming from that. And then there were some, areas where there just wasn't enough data yet, and we kept those campaigns rolling over to the next month. At the end of month 1, from the traction that we were seeing, we want to go ahead and start to expand channels, right? And so this goes back to on like slide 2 or 3 where I was talking about channel market fit. So we had already started to establish some channel market fit through cold email, and so we were wanting to take this same motion and apply this to LinkedIn, right? Because LinkedIn and cold email, they kind of read the same, the messaging is relatively similar, and it's typically received the same, right? But one thing that's important to note here that we discovered very, very quickly is that a lot of the decision makers that we're getting in contact with, they're either clinic owners or they're the administration at the clinic, so like front desk, or maybe they're the actual practitioner themselves. These people are hard enough to reach over cold email, they're hard enough to reach over the phones, but adding in LinkedIn outbound as a channel to test, these people really aren't on LinkedIn at all. It's not like somebody that works in business development that is using their LinkedIn daily. These are people that, might not even exist on LinkedIn, and they might not even get on LinkedIn that much. So we were able to diagnose that very quickly, even though that is our next typical step in engagements, is going from cold email to adding in cold LinkedIn. We were able to kill that very quickly, and we pivoted to cold calling. So for month 2, we were able to move from 4 calls scheduled to now 5. So this is further increasing the sales pipeline. Even though the affirmative responses actually went down by 1, right? Now we're learning how to optimize the replies that we're handling, also being able to convert affirmative responses to more calls just naturally. Then when it comes to month 3, this is where we started to ramp up more of the cold calling based off of additional data that we had gathered when we have had past engagements with clients inside of the medical space, right? And so this is something that's very important when you're solving for go-to-market, is you have to be having a willingness to kill some of the own recommendations that you make when they don't work. So I'm a big fan of cold email outbound and LinkedIn outbound because we can spin up a multitude of different LinkedIn accounts and then run those to your target ICP and your audience to originate conversations. But we did find out that having our dedicated rep on this account start to cold call instead of run the LinkedIn outbound was actually the right choice, right? Now, also, if you're working with a finite market, right, if you're not just a generic B2B SaaS that can work with essentially the entire marketplace, and you're working with a finite market, right, it's very important that you utilize a multitude of different partner networks that you can go after, and then also making sure that you expand that TAM as much as you can, right? And so this doesn't mean just going, directly after clinics. For us, this meant, getting them in with a VC fund. This also meant getting them in with channel partners where we could get them in contact with billing and RCM providers, so revenue cycle management for either like your clinics or sometimes very large hospitals, where each of these RCM channel partners were worth 5 to 10 direct accounts in terms of pipeline access that they can now access via partner networks. So it's never just about direct conversations with like your end user ICP. Yes, at the end of the day that is important, but you do need to be thinking about how do you add in these other layers such as channel partners and then also getting in contact with institutional capital as early as possible. So here's the visual over like the 90-day summary. So from the pilot period, we were just under $1 million in new pipeline. We were able to scale that up in month 2, and then at month 3, at the 90-day mark, we're hitting 1.8 million in new pipeline that month. Even though we had some numbers trending the opposite way, which may be a little bit confusing in terms of our reply rate was going down on the cold emails, affirmative responses, they went up a little bit, but they held flat for the most part. But the signal here was that we started to get better at converting past affirmative responses from what we had been sending out, and then also adding in cold calling as a layer here was part of this solution to get more calls onto the calendar. Now, that's just a high-level overview of this engagement. I wanted to provide some insights here that you could follow along with, get some further insight into our thesis and how I like to approach this. Like I said, this is probably going to be something where we go a lot deeper with a live call and like a video that I record and put out where we're actually speaking across both teams. To give you an overview of Syra Holdings and what we do, we're partners for strategic growth and deal flow. And so if you are bootstrapped, that is okay, but you do need to have at least $200K allocated for growth. If you're a funded startup, so you're seed to Series A, and you're in need of battle-tested go-to-market playbooks to actually scale, go-to-market, raise your next round. And then also if you're an M&A firm or an investment bank with a sell-side mandate that's looking for additional deal flow, those are relevant conversations for us as well, and we can help you get into rooms that you didn't even know exist for off-market stuff and deals that aren't publicly available as well. So definitely looking forward to ideally speaking with you. I'll leave my link down below for you to book a call with us. But yeah, if you haven't already, be sure that you subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you soon.